Yeah, so 2 weeks in, and we already have a bunch of drivers mad at each other because stuff happened. So let's get into it. I'm Jarrett Lundberg. This is the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
Green flag. I'll roll. I'll roll. He's flipping me off. Yeah, boys, how about that? They cut. What's it in the wall? He threw it off the track. Baby, that's how you do it. Get that second back, son. Yeah, baby, yeah.
Yes, welcome everybody once again to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. I say let's just get right into it. I'm gonna get this thing off me really quick, and you can see our panelists. We got Black Flags Matter, Eric Estepp, and Michael Klein all in here today to talk about the race. Danny B will be in here later tonight, more than likely. We're hoping. Yeah. And what's really funny too is they're all talking and they don't realize I still had them muted. So now say hi, everybody.
Big dummy.
No, I purposely
figure it
had you
out
muted. I wanted to see if you guys would just start rambling.
Oh, wow. Oh, shame on you.
So yeah.
got a lot to talk about
Nah,
tonight.
you gotta get me started before I can go.
All right, so let's just get right into Atlanta. So what are your guys' thoughts?
Go first, Eric. Go.
Okay,
Get 'em.
sure. Yes, you're
Yeah,
sick of
before,
me on the
man.
audience. So this week's race at Atlanta, I should have prepared my statement better. This is why I could never be a late night talk show host. I don't have a good opening monologue, but in a nutshell, I think this race met. I don't want to say met everyone's expectations because I don't think the racing we saw is actually what we expected it to look like. But as far as the entertainment value, I think this race more or less met or maybe even exceeded some people's expectations. I think last year's race was relatively slow. You had Harvick kind of dominate, not as much passing as I think, or not as much competition as we're used to seeing at Atlanta. This new aero package, I know it's not the fully complete version that we're going to see at like Las Vegas or at most races this year, but it is a version of it. And I thought it improved the racing from at least the last couple of years at Atlanta, or the last year or two. I think we had a race, what was it, like 2016 was pretty good. 2014 was pretty good as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But it's still, there were positives from it. You know, you had more exciting restarts, 3-4 wide for the lead at one point on a restart. Like, you just don't see that at any track. Really, you don't even see that at Daytona very often. So definitely added to the excitement there. I think I was worried that passing would be difficult, especially when cars started to get separated from each other. But it really, I wouldn't say it was easy to pass, but it was definitely, it was possible. It wasn't impossible the way we've seen in like a lot of the Gen 6 mile-and-a-half races where you get a guy within 3 car lengths and you can't go anywhere. Here, more or less, you could get right up to a guy's bumper pretty often within 1 car length for sure. And with as rough a surface as it is, guys would slip up. It made pretty good racing. I liked it. I think it was a solid race, a good race, and it at least met my expectations as far as entertainment goes.
Well, I can tell you right now, like just from before the race even started, I was getting like early 2000s vibes for some reason, just from like the pre-race and just from, I don't know, like everything before the race. I don't know why, but just for some reason, I was getting those vibes. And at the drop of the green flag, it it totally it totally looked like Atlanta circa 2004. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we had 3 wide battles, and it was even 4 wide on one of the restarts. And
Yeah.
obviously the first 10 laps were extremely close, but then we got into those long green flag runs, and then you started to see much more spread out racing, which was expected, at least for me. The fan reaction at first was very mixed. You had myself and Eric going like, hey, this is better than last year, applaud NASCAR for trying. But then you had some of the negative like fans just saying like, oh, this is terrible. This is why it's dying and all that stuff. All in the first 20 laps, mind you. All in the first 20 laps. That's insane. But then, as the race goes, I saw a ton of surprises. First off, Ganassi Racing looks to be on one. Larson was dominant throughout the entire race up until he beat himself again, and we'll probably get to him later on in the show. Kurt Busch has turned around that one team, it looks like, tremendously right off the bat. I mean, getting a P3. Matt Carr didn't make the playoffs with McMurray last year, so that was really good. Then you saw the typical guys up front, Harvick, Logano, Blaney was up there as well. And then, some of the big surprises. Hendrick Motorsports is off. Just off of this race, I don't know what the deal is with that. At one point, there was no Hendrick car all 4 Hendrick cars were outside of the top 15. So I don't know what the whole deal with that is. And I know one of us on here picked Chase Elliott to win the championship. I'm looking at you, Eric. It's not looking good. But no, your Johnson prediction, your Johnson prediction looks to be spot on though.
So I'm batting 500 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like he was nowhere to be found.
They're just trying to show NASCAR they can play by the rules, and they're going to start cheating halfway through the year. I didn't say that.
Yeah. And then towards the end we had that what was looking to be a good finish. Keselowski won the race, even though he had the flu. So props to him for doing that. Truex gets second, and then he complains afterwards. Oh, Stenhouse wouldn't get out of the way, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about that on the show. But for the most part, I'd have to give this race a 7 out of 10. It was a typical Atlanta race to me. It was just another typical Atlanta race. Close racing in the beginning. But then as the green flag runs started to get going, long green flag stints started to get going, you saw the spread out racing. I mean, it's just like any other typical Atlanta race. And we also have to remember, this isn't the whole package yet. This isn't the full package. They're running the full package this weekend at Las Vegas, which I'll be in person, by the way, for all the races this weekend. So I'll give you guys updates on that. But yeah, for the most part, I'd give this race 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that's probably about what I would give it too. It was probably a little less exciting than I thought it would be. I mean, I was expecting, that close racing that they said they would give for that, but I didn't understand before the race that this wasn't even the full package. But really, I would say it was probably a pretty interesting race, just because you had several different leaders. You had a lot of stuff going on just throughout the whole race that just kind of kept people intrigued by it. And that finish was definitely a pretty good battle between Brad and Martin. I just thought it was funny to see his post race and then the Stenhouse over that. But yeah, if you guys didn't notice, Stenhouse actually blocked Truex on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that earlier. As for my thoughts about the race, and by the way, thank you, Reverend Rasheem Stewart, for your super chat. Here it is. It says, what major sporting event would you like to go to? It all depends on the circumstances. If the Minnesota Vikings are in the Super Bowl, you know what one I want to go to. If the Cubs are in the World Series again, I want to go to that.
Yeah. Basically sums up my answer too to that one.
But if we're looking just overall, I'd love to go to the Daytona 500 or the Brickyard 400 one day. Or 500, I should say. Indianapolis 500. I'm in NASCAR mode. We finally got a meme for me. Good job. There you go, Darian. It took a year and a half.
You caught me off guard with that Brickyard 400. I'm like, what? You want to go
Sorry.
see that?
Sorry, I haven't had the greatest week, so I didn't think about the greatest race.
I actually went to it last year. It's actually pretty exciting when you go in person.
Yeah, I've heard it's a lot different in person for sure.
Yeah, what's crazy is the amount of access they give you, even for just a general admission. Because I mean, even that will get you into the infield, meet the drivers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's different in person, but I just know on TV it's. I gotta go in person definitely then instead, because on TV it's definitely not as good for sure. But I've heard a lot of people say that when they go to that race, it's a lot better, and just the experience and the history involved. For the Atlanta race though, I don't know. I mean, it was a typical old school kind of Atlanta race, and I think what I said last week with Daytona kind of rings true here, is that it is reminiscent in a way of the old Gen 4 days. Not to say that it was like one of those all-time great races and one of those another great Atlanta finishes kind of deal, but there was a lot of side-by-side racing. I'm kind of torn here, because in some circles a lot of people hated it, and they do have some valid reasons for not liking this race, but in other circles, and the one I'm sort of leaning more towards, people definitely appreciated and liked this race more than a lot of them. I think Jeff Gluck's poll pretty much put it where it should be. It was definitely better than the last 2 years. It was not as good as 2016. I think that's one of the most underrated races in the last 5 years. But as for this race, I liked a lot of the side-by-side racing, the changing of the lead, and the fact that people could run people down and pass them even if lap traffic had to be involved. But I'm not going to go and say that it was great. It wasn't bad. It wasn't really even mediocre. It was a lower level of a good race. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. I think it could definitely improve, but I think that just that was the best Atlanta was, going to give us even with this package. So that's my thought on it. And any other sort of to follow up on?
The big criticism I saw, from a lot of people, and I think it is valid, is it's valid for this race. I don't think it's valid going forward, but it's valid for this race. It's that they slowed the cars down, and the racing looks almost the same as it has the last few years. So all they really did was just slow the cars down. I will say the cars did look noticeably slower. At least on TV they did. I don't know about in person.
They sounded slower. They sounded slower too.
They sounded a little slow. I actually heard. I heard from some people that it was like slightly quieter, like in person, to the point where it was almost like a lot of people actually that I heard a few people say that they actually preferred the sound of the cars this year because it wasn't so glaring. It was still loud, like hit you, but it didn't like hurt you. Like kind of some of the other ones do. Like I go to a race, I have to have headphones. I can't really walk around out there very easily without them, but. That was the one criticism I saw, is that they were just slower, but still the same racing. And there's those hardcore NASCAR fans that want the speed, which I can understand that, especially at a big track like Atlanta. You want the speed; that's part of the entertainment value of it. But I would say waiting for Las Vegas, because that's where the lower speeds I think will help the racing. That being said, I do think the racing, something about the aero. I think they didn't make any changes to the body other than the spoiler, and the air ducts didn't really come to play in this race. So you still have a lot of aerodynamics, a lot of dirty air versus clean air. So I think what NASCAR did here is just by slowing down the cars, they mitigated some of the aero effects, and it helped for the most part. We did see people, get closer. There wasn't as big of a bubble of air. So I overall thought it did well for this week, but that was a fair criticism I saw, especially, but I think that'll be a criticism that kind of goes away after this week's race at Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's like something that happens every time NASCAR introduces something new. That you have the criticism that 1 week, and then it just kind of seems to gradually go away, even really by the next week. So.
Yeah, and just another thing to point out here. It seems like we had a ton of leader jinxes here. Like Eric Almirola was leading, then he speeds on pit road. He's relegated to the back. Larson was leading. He sped on pit road, relegated to the back. Blaney was leading too, and then he had a loose wheel. So I mean, it just seemed whoever was leading in certain parts of the race was just cursed.
Even at the end of the race, when Keselowski was leading, he said he had a possible overheating issue. That's what forced him to kind of ease off for a few laps and make it a closer race than it might have been.
But that did teach us a little bit about this package, is that it's more of a track position game. If you make a mistake, there's really no coming back from it.
There is, like Kyle Busch
It's harder. It's harder though. It's a lot harder.
It's harder, but it's only harder, it felt like, for some people. Kyle Busch started this race in last place, and he was up there in the top 10 for most of it.
I'm talking more so about Larson and Almirola. Like, they were up front, and then once they had the mistakes, they couldn't really catch back up. Almirola was really like mid-pack, or well, no, not necessarily mid-pack. I'd say maybe in the top 15 for most of that race. And so
he was actually up to almost the top 5 toward the end there.
He got there towards the end. I think part of it, Larson was a special case because, we saw Kyle Busch was able to pass consistently. We were able to see Almirola not go super fast, but he was able to at least steadily increase his position. Larson was the one oddball there, and that, I don't know, maybe it had something just to do with the way they set their car up. I don't know. The one difficult thing with this package is, it's easier to pass than it maybe has been the last couple of years, but it's also easier to get past, if that makes sense. I think you saw like a couple times, even during that one battle for the lead with Larson and Harvick, where like Harvick would pass Larson, but hey, same lap, Larson passed him right back.
Someone even complained on your Twitter, Eric. These cars are too easy to pass.
Yeah, somebody said that these cars are too easy to pass. Yeah, that's a new complaint I hadn't heard, but yeah, so I don't know. I can understand why back in traffic you might make a great pass 2 guys in one straightaway, but then if somebody gets on your quarter panel, if something does happen, if you don't complete the pass fully, you could get freight trained, because that's where the draft and the momentum still comes into play. So I think that will make it harder to drive through the field, whereas in years past, if you just had a faster car and you get by someone, you're gone. Now they still have a chance to get you back. I think that's going to come into play. I still think it'll come more into play at Las Vegas and Texas and some of these other tracks we're going to soon, but I don't know. It was interesting. I'm just really surprised the draft really didn't seem to matter that much at Atlanta. I don't know. Like, even during qualifying, they kept saying, like, are they going to draft together? And then everyone's like, no, we're not going to draft together. It doesn't help.
It didn't really matter.
I was surprised, but I don't know. I think that'll all change this week.
Yeah, I mean, it helps if you're the guy behind, but I mean, that's really it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seemed to not even help them like a whole. It looked like it helped a couple people a tiny bit, but it wasn't a huge advantage, which I was surprised by.
See,
Well, one of the biggest. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, don't worry. I've still got to figure out what exactly I'm going to say. So go ahead.
Oh no, well I mean, just even before the race started, you saw a ton of complaints. For example, qualifying, you had guys like Michael McDowell and Ty Dillon, and even Corey LaJoy were qualifying ahead of guys like Keselowski, Blaney, Logano, and even Harvick sometimes, and even in practice. So then some people were like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone's even and stuff. I guess like performance won't come into play." Like, I mean, it's a 500-mile race. Like the cream is going to rise to the crop whenever. I mean, McDowell started fourth, or no, McDowell started 12th, but we didn't see him the rest of the race though. So it really doesn't matter. And then Logano and Blaney drove up, no problem. So that's not really an issue.
Something that I kind of noticed was compared to years past, it seemed like side by side racing and passing cars and stuff. It actually seemed to play a little more of an effect if you looked at the intervals when it was happening. Like when Harvick and Larson were going back and forth. Yeah, I get it. Side by side racing is going to slow the cars down, and the third place car will get an advantage, running on their own. But something that I sort of noticed was that when they were going back and forth within a lap, third place is making up a second or a second and a half on them. That's something that I kind of noticed. And I'm wondering if coming into this week with Las Vegas, with it probably being warmer, with it probably at the same time being more slick, how much is that going to play an effect? Whereas like cars are side by side, having to stay off each other more, is that car kind of come back from 3 or 4 seconds back in a few laps and catch the leaders? And that's something that I'm looking forward to this coming week compared to with Atlanta.
Really quick, guys. I just connected my mic. I saw you guys in the chat. Sorry, it was like the audio was connected from my camera. That's why I sounded a little bit quieter. And Jared, just really quick, if you want to just adjust the whole the settings. There's some people in there just saying it's a little too quiet. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, I have to agree with that point, Jared. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that.
So is that about it, or we want to talk about some of the teams and their strengths and weaknesses?
Can we go like team by team, maybe? Like maybe we can do that, or
sure. Let's start with Hendrick.
Oh, Hendrick Motorsports, man. People were giving them too much credit early on after Daytona. People were like, "Oh, Hendrick's back." Like, no, Atlanta, like that's when the real season begins. We'll find out then. So basically it's like this. Bowman was nowhere to be found. Elliott was up there for a little bit, but he wasn't really inside the top 5. He was running more so sometimes in the top 10, but most of the time he was running outside of the top 10. Byron, nowhere to be found either. And Johnson just died. He straight up just died this weekend. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that team right now. I don't know if it's just a case of maybe they're starting to work out the kinks. For Johnson and Byron, I can understand that because you have new teams, brand new crew chiefs around them. I could see the whole excuse where it's going to take time to adjust, but Chase Elliott and Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman, there's no excuse there. I mean, got the same team as last year. Chase Elliott's coming off of 3 wins. Bowman off of a playoff appearance. Y'all should be running up there, no problem. And they were just nowhere to be found.
One thing that I guess if you're a Hendrick fan, you're really worried after this race, which I'll be honest, you should be a little worried. You should be, if you're a Hendrick fan, as someone who picked Chase Elliott to win the championship, I am concerned. Luckily, there's still 34 weeks to clean that up. But the one thing to remember, though, is that Atlanta is different than any other track. It's kind of a one-off track in a lot of ways. This is not going to be whatever setup you ran at Atlanta this weekend, you're not running at any other track this year at any point. So at least that is something to at least, this race didn't really matter at the end of the day. It didn't really matter. It doesn't really say much about the future of this season. So I wouldn't get too worried. We saw that at least those engines have speed. Ganassi cars were in the top 5. Freaking JTG Doherty was in the top 10. So at least the engines have speed. I don't know if Hendrick just missed the setup, if they brought they didn't bring the right equipment. I don't know what they did. I saw in the chat people were mentioning, and I saw this rumor or something that they actually brought super speedway cars this weekend. And if that's the case, I don't believe that rumor.
Why?
Yeah, I don't believe that rumor because I'm like,
It
why
makes
the hell
no
would they do that?
sense.
Like, are they
Makes no
dumb?
sense.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't
there's
think
no
Rick
way
Hendrick's an
an
idiot.
owner, Francis Hendrick, would do that.
Yeah, like
No.
it's
Well,
not like
they have-
it's not like they only have one car body left in the garage. I mean, Hendrick Motorsports, they have money. Like can afford multiple types of race cars. Like that doesn't make any
Right.
sense to me. I just think they missed it. And Jimmy Johnson was the most surprising one, but again, it's him and a rookie crew chief. A lot of people at the beginning of the season when I said Jimmy's not making the playoffs, everyone was like, "What? It's Jimmy Johnson." It's like I'm not
Yeah.
doubting Jimmy. I definitely think Jimmy slipped a little bit, but I think he's a playoff driver. He's a top 10 driver still. It's his rookie crew chief. I mean, we saw last year they struggled with that equipment with a good crew chief. Put a rookie crew chief in there. I just don't see it working out. They still got plenty of time to get things, straightened out. Maybe they do. Maybe they still turn it around. But yeah, not a good look. First real race of the year.
Yeah, and leading into what you said, I mean, really, Atlanta isn't like any of the other mile-and-a-half tracks that everyone complains are too generic. So really, you can't judge how they're going to do with these for the rest of the season based on Atlanta, especially when it's this early in the season. Because, there's probably going to have some bugs. I think everybody is. And the good news is that they're going to be able to work that out, and especially going to Las Vegas, which is another mile and a half. It's really going to help them, I think, figure out what they're struggling with and hopefully get them back toward the front by, I don't know, the second quarter of the year.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I noticed a lot of people on Twitter, and I know that maybe I would have been in this camp 5 years ago, but a lot of people on Twitter and on social media seem to be making a lot of excuses for Hendrick struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, though, that now going on year 3 of a downward spiral, aside from Chase Elliott, who is the lone bright spot when it comes to performance at Hendrick Motorsports, when did the excuses kind of stop is what I got to ask. Like, it's like 2017, it's like, oh, it's just an off year, it's, Dale Jr.'s not the same driver he was. JJ, he has a few bad years, he'll have a bad year here or there, and Kane's off, and all that. Then 2018 rolled around. It's like, oh, they got new drivers. There's a rookie. Johnson's just off his game. And now it's the same thing. It's like, oh, no, it's just the package. They're not used to it yet. It's like, maybe now because it's like, I put something out there. I'm like, would you have believed me if before the race I told you that Daniel Hemrick in the number 8 RCR car would outrun all 4 Hendrick cars?
The two rookies.
No.
Two rookies.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have believed you there.
And somebody...
Two rookies outrun them.
And
and really both JPG cars, too. I mean, except until Priest at the end.
Yeah. I mean,
So you had a ton of mid-pack Hendrick... Sorry, you had a bunch of the mid-pack Chevy teams outrunning Hendrick pretty much all race long. So
Yeah.
you really can't give them any more excuses other than they're struggling.
Yes, and that's like somebody left me like the thing like, well, Elliott was running 11th before he hit, his front end got damaged. It's like, yes, he's running 11th in Hendrick Motorsports equipment. That's not a good thing. And it's like,
That's a good thing.
Well, and it's like, newsflash, Daniel Hemrick was in the top 5 later in the race. So are we just gonna be like, oh, Elliott would have been in the top 5? It's like, no, it's just the Hendrick cars were bad this week, and this is how they started last year too. They started bad. Elliott didn't start well either.
In the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they started bad last year, and Elliott was the only one that was able to turn it on. Now, do they change it this year? I think they can. I think it's still very early. It's too early to say that it's like to write Hendrick off by any means. I think it's too early really to write anyone off for the most part. I have a hard time though thinking there's no real compelling argument right now though to say that anyone other than Chase Elliott is going to turn it on at the end of the year. There's no argument for Johnson. He's been on a downward career slope. Bowman is still, even though he's shown flashes, is still too unproven. And Byron's in his second year. I think of any of them, Byron should be the one to get the pass for now. Any of them. And Byron really has been the second best Hendrick car running wise for the most part, aside from, you can make an argument for Alex Bowman, definitely. And then I think Elliott wasn't, before that damage, there really wasn't enough time to judge him for the most part. But Johnson
I
just
gotta-
looked off. I mean, he was running within a second of Bubba Wallace, who had electrical issues during the race. Like
When you're running behind Bubby Wallace.
well, no,
that
what
is
I'm saying
bad.
is he not just that. It's like if a car that's had electrical problems for 200 laps of the race is running right near you or outrunning you, and you haven't had a problem, it's like red flag should be flaring up. I don't care if it's one race, or two races in for this point. Red flag should be flaring up when a second-year driver with a ailing car is beating a 7-time champion at one of his best tracks. I don't care if it's a new aero package.
I gotta ask y'all though, do you guys believe in the whole sandbagging story? Like, oh, they're just sandbagging for now. Like they're not really showing what they got.
Not really.
Yeah.
I would say it's possible they're experimenting right now, trying to figure out what works. But I definitely would say they're probably still going at it 100% each race.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Larson believes that too. I mean, I'm pretty sure what he said was just a joke. At least
Yeah,
he
probably.
had.
Yeah.
So I find it dumb that people are actually taking that seriously.
But another team
That's what they've
though.
been doing a while.
Wait,
Another team though.
Can I say
Oh,
one
go
more thing
ahead.
about Hendrick Motorsports? I
Go
think Hendrick Motorsports, what we're seeing from them these last 2 years is the exact reason why Stuart Haas hasn't promoted Cole Custer yet. And it's the same reason Joe Gibbs Racing put Furniture Row out of business so they could get Martin Truex Jr. Drivers matter. It's the Roush thing. When Matt Kenseth left Roush, and then a year and a half, 2 years later, Edwards left Roush, they fell off a cliff, and they've never gotten quite back there yet. They're still not back there. It might be a couple years, maybe, if they're lucky. You look at what happened now. Hendrick Motorsports is Roush. I'm afraid to say it, but Hendrick Motorsports might be Roush on a larger scale. Roush dropped 2 veterans and replaced them with 2 young guys. Hendrick has dropped 3 veterans and replaced them with 3 young guys. Jimmy Johnson's the only guy over the age of 25. Or how old is Bowman? Is he 25? He might be 25. All
I
right,
think
well,
he's 25.
Jimmy Johnson's the only veteran.
Yeah,
on that.
exactly 25.
And what happened? 2017 was when Chase Elliott was there. 2017, Chase Elliott, second year, a little bit of struggle. We start to see, not saying Chase Elliott's bad, but he doesn't have the experience. So a little bit of a struggle. 2018, they unleash all 3 of these young guys. A guy in his 3rd year, Bowman's his 1st year in good equipment, Byron's a rookie. They struggled last year. Last year was their worst year by far. This year, we expect them to get better, but I don't know. It's the same reason like Stuart Haas Racing, when Danica Patrick left, they didn't want to put a young guy in that car. They wanted to put Eric Almirola, a veteran. Now with the 41, when Kurt Busch was leaving, they didn't want to bring Cole Custer up. They filled with Daniel Suarez, which I don't know, maybe that goes against my argument because he also hasn't been that good. Joe Gibbs Racing, let's go back to last year. Joe Gibbs Racing, that was arguably their worst year in a long time. Kyle Busch was their only driver who made it through the first round of the playoffs. And guess what? They had Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez, 2 young guys. So I think it's just something where teams' driver experience matters a lot as far as how good an overall team performs. Chip Ganassi Racing had 2 cars in the top 5. They added a veteran this offseason. So I don't know. I think that's really the thing that's killed Hendrick Motorsports right now. I hate to say it, but it's William Byron and Alex Bowman and maybe a little bit of Chase Elliott. I think that's really what's done it.
I think that it's actually a longer lasting issue. Because if you look, looking just back through the Gen 6 years, like Hendrick right away picked up on it. I mean, 2013, Gordon was he, in circumstances aside, he made the chase and finished 6th in points. Dale Jr. had his most consistent year ever. Casey Kane won a race and performed relatively well for Kane's standards towards the end of his career. And then Johnson won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you look at 2014. Gordon Jr. and Johnson all won 4 races, and I think Kane won once. And if I'm not mistaken, I might be, though, Hendrick was either the number 1 or number 2 most winning team in 2014. That was 5 years ago. 2015, Gordon just falling off. It was the end of his career. He made the Final 4, but he only won once. Junior won 3 times, and then Johnson won 3 or 4 times, I believe, too. And then I don't know what Kane did. Then 2016 rolls around. Gordon goes away. Elliott comes in, and Elliott's a good driver, but he's no Jeff Gordon. And Johnson wins a bit, but he's falling off. Junior doesn't win a race before his concussion, but he's still chase eligible. And then Kane's a little off. And then you look at 2017, is Dale Jr. is not the same driver he used to be. Casey Kane is not the same driver he used to be. And you're left with Chase Elliott and Jimmy Johnson, who Elliott performed better, Johnson didn't. And then you look at last year, we know the story there, and it just seems like the same progression. Like, I think And I don't think it's all Hendrick Motorsports either. I think that a lot of it has to do with the young drivers. I think they were just forced into this situation. Like,
Yeah.
I think Hendrick.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Hendrick was expecting Johnson to stay as good as he was. Didn't happen. Elliott has been the one bright spot.
Yeah.
Kane had left already, so we knew Byron was coming up. But then I'm pretty sure Hendrick expected Dale Jr. to be around at least another 5 years before the concussion
Perhaps.
stuff. He had talked about being
Yeah.
around through about the early 2020s, and I mean, I don't think anyone's at fault there, but Hendrick just has had bad circumstances, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it's been Hendrick's fault. Like with Roush, they could have made it work and kept Kenseth. They could have made it work and kept Edwards. But with Hendrick, it's kind of just been, it all hit them all at once. It's like if you're a good like basketball team and you have like 3 superstars, but all of a sudden they're all due to get paid at the same time. You can only offer 2 of them money. You're gonna have to let one of them walk. And that's just a bad circumstance. That's basically what Hendrick found themselves in this place. Their superstars were getting old enough to now they just want to retire. Junior Johnson, Kane, or Junior Gordon and Kane just want to retire. And it just is unfortunate that it all hit them over the course of about 2 years. And that's just bad timing, really.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not even just an issue with Hendrick. I mean, look at all the guys who've retired over NASCAR lately, who have been replaced by these younger guys who haven't been performing as well, even though they were expected to. So really, that's not an issue at all with Hendrick. It's just how the sport is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Another team, though, sort of want to move on from Hendrick now. Another team who surprised me the most was Chip Ganassi Racing. I've said all offseason, and I was like, pretty firm on my stance. All Larson's being wasted here. Well, I mean, he's telling me to eat his grits, because this dude was freaking literally like out there just like leading the whole time. He was dominating. And then Kurt Busch in that one car, a car that didn't even make the playoffs last year, was running inside the top 5 and ends up getting a 3rd place finish. And I honestly didn't see Kurt Busch making the playoffs this year. Like, no disrespect to him. It's just, I just didn't like the team it was on. I didn't like the situation, but I mean, totally just proved me wrong there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I had Kurt Busch making the playoffs this year, sneaking ahead as the 16th spot, but I did not expect that. Top 5 in his first race now. I did not see that coming. That's really cool to see, though.
Jarrett, super chat, buddy.
Yeah, see. Nunibus says, Hendrick lost Rex Stump to SHR. The man knows car setups. That's the inflection, I'm assuming that's point, of when SHR became the dominant team and Hendrick fell. So, yeah, that has personnel has a lot to do with it. Yeah. I know with when it comes to like pit crews and stuff, a lot of Hendrick's good pit crew members from about 2012 to 15 went over to Joe Gibbs Racing, right? Like that 19 team was basically the 88 team of 2014 pit crew wise for the most part. So, and they had good stops and good results. I mean, you look at Carl Edwards that year. So yeah, I mean, it has a lot to do with personnel too. I think that Hendrick this is a rough patch. I think that overall, because this is something that's probably one of a newer thing for Hendrick, I think they'll get through it. I think Hendrick has enough precautions put in place. I think that was one big problem with Roush is they had sponsor trouble even during the heyday. Whereas Hendrick, this is something new. And they're I think they'll adjust to it. Then again, I could be wrong. But that's sort of just my take on it. Thank you, by the way, for that super chat.
Yeah, thanks for the super chat, man. But yeah, back to Ganassi. Larson just looks that team. I mean, last year they were running up front, but they weren't getting they weren't closing the deal, and it was the same with this. In this instance, it wasn't Larson. Well, no, it wasn't the team. It was Larson. Larson sped on pit road, and I was like, man, like he had this race won. I think he was about 5-6 seconds ahead of Harvick at one point in the race, and then he sped on pit road and lost all that track position and was relegated to the back. And then Kurt Busch ends up being the highest finishing car. It's just, I mean, we're starting to sort of see a pattern with Larson here. He's choked away some wins in his career, and then in the Chili Bowl. Yeah, in the Chili Bowl this year, he had the lead on the last lap, and then he just choked it away to Christopher Bell. And
Yeah,
now,
I can
now
see
we're
it
having this
now.
instance, already the second race in the Cup Series this season, and he's speeding on pit road while he has the most
Hey,
dominant car.
you know what? I can see it now. I can see it right here. Kyle Larson, the Vikings of NASCAR.
Pretty much. I mean, that's a fair comparison. I'd say that.
I can
fair
I can
comparison.
I can totally see it because it's almost it's like the parallel with it. Larson is incredibly talented. And I know a lot of people now are saying he's overrated because the wins haven't matched the hype. And I don't think that really as much as I'm a numbers guy, I don't think the wins show just as much talent as he has and just as much ability that he has. But the problem is that I think especially when it comes to choking away these wins or doing things that can't get him the win and not being able to close the deal, I do think it has to do with what's in his head. I think
Right.
it's a mental deal here. It's become such a recurring theme, and basically it's pretty much become a meme among NASCAR fans at this point.
Yeah.
So if it gets to that point, there has to be something that I think he needs to look in like more internally to fix with himself because he has the ability. It's just he always manages to do something to sort of blow it unless he's given the best of every situation, basically best car, best pit stops, best strategy, best everything. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's something that a lot of people I think forget because everyone talks about how physical the sport is, and really it's just as mental as it is physical. So you need the right mindset to really close these deals because one lapse like he's been having, that's gonna do it in for you.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and Danny put in the chat F in chat for Larson. Yeah, lick the like button
Yeah.
while you're at it, putting that F there.
Yeah, click the like button. How many do we have watching right now, by the way? I haven't checked past
168. We
that.
got
Oh,
again.
not
I
bad.
haven't. It hasn't updated for me yet, but it says we have 27 likes, so we need to fix that. Lick the like button.
Yeah, click the like button, guys. Let's get to it. Another team who showed improvement was RCR. Hemrick was in the top 5 before the
Yeah.
blown tire, but unfortunately, Austin Dillon, his first real race with crew chief Danny Stockton, who we won championships with in the Xfinity Series, was nowhere to be found this week.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. I thought this was Austin Dillon's, I don't want to say his year, but I mean, like his year in the sense I think he would make the playoffs on points.
Right.
I thought he would maybe contend for a win here or there, kind of be decent. But he was completely overshadowed by the rookie, Daniel Emmerich, yesterday. And that's a little concerning. I mean, it's not concerning. I think RCR should be happy. They all ran pretty well. We saw Ty Dillon even had speed in qualifying, at least a little bit more speed than usual. So, overall, RCR has looked pretty good these first 2 weeks by their standards. But yeah, I don't know.
Austin Dillon, I mean, I don't know what happened to him. I mean, just from the start of the race, he was just off, and even Fox played they even showed his in-car cam, and he was pissed. He was just pissed off with the car setup. I guess he said like, "Oh, you guys set this up like way too loose for my liking and stuff." I mean, maybe it's a case where him and Stockton sort of have to they have to get reacquainted with one another. I mean, they haven't worked together in like. Won the championship in 2013, so about 5 years, something like that. They haven't worked together for a while there, so it's a case of maybe getting reacquainted. But I don't know. I'm just not. I don't know. That's just very concerning. I don't know. It wouldn't be as concerning if Hemrick wasn't showing him up. I mean, Hemrick was all the way inside the top 5 before the blown tire there.
Yeah, why don't you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but this is Stockman's first year in the Cup Series, right?
I think so.
I think
I'm
so,
not
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it's his first year. Yeah.
Yeah, so at the same time, it's also not like you can just jump as the crew chief from Xfinity to Cup and expect all that success right off the bat because they are different cars, so they're going to require different setups. So, you really can't expect him to know everything right off the bat, especially when you're only 2 races in, and they're 2 tracks that you really don't go. Well, sorry, I didn't word that right. Daytona, but Atlanta, that's a track we only go to once a year. It's the only track with that kind of character of its kind. So you really can't expect that kind of success right off the bat.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is the important thing to remember in all these is like, yeah, Atlanta doesn't mean a whole lot going forward. I mean, it means a little bit. I mean, it shows,
We
we
all
saw
mean a little bit.
the guys we ran up that we saw run up front, like were guys that have been in their situations for a long time. We're mostly veteran drivers. But as far as RCR, as disappointed as I was to see Austin Dillon not run well, I was very surprised to see Daniel Hemrick do well. And I was highly encouraged from, I know we'll talk about Priest probably in a minute, but the rookie battle this year might actually be something to watch. They might not be competing for 25th. They might be competing for 10th or 15th on a week-to-week basis. Might be something to actually watch for. Maybe one of those guys gets a win. I don't know.
Yeah, that was something that surprised me, was seeing them up there and compete, and not just because a lot of the times you'll see, you know, an RCR team or you'll see a JTG team, and it's like, oh yeah, they made it up there, like they took 2 tires, or, you know, they didn't pit, and it's like, oh yeah, they're up there for a bit, and then they fall the back. But it's like they were tracking people down and racing them, and I found that to be really, really good. It's the first time. When's the last time we've actually had a really good rookie battle? And, you know, I know we've had it where there's good rookie. Yeah, I know we've had it where there's good rookies, but there hasn't
really
been
the
a time
best
we had
one
a
I
good
can think of lately was 2014 with Dillon and Larson, and even I don't think that one was.
Well, no,
quite
I
up to like
I
205.
date back to like 2002 probably with Newman
yeah.
and Johnson probably as far back as that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, I remember 2014, there were high expectations for that, but then Dillon kind of underperformed, so.
No, I remember Dylan, like he was the favorite heading in, because at the time, even I was like, who's Kyle Larson? You know, I mean, if you weren't a dirt fan, if you only watched NASCAR, you were like, well, Larson he's never ran full time in either trucks or Xfinity, and now he's getting the Ganassi ride. Like, this is destined to fail. But then,
Xfinity.
oh, that's right, he did, but he did run there before. He did run a little bit before there. That's right. But yeah, I mean,
before
even
his
then,
full-time Cup year, it was, I think, 1 K&N season, and then
yeah.
he jumped to Xfinity with a few truck races here and there.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, and like then he just showed Austin Dillon up that year. But yeah, I think this rookie battle will probably be really the best we've seen in a while, really since 02, pretty much. And I see Eric's back. Where'd you go?
Sorry, it was like freezing up oddly on my screen, so I just exited and came back to like refresh it. I'm back. What did I miss? Anything big?
No, we're just talking about past rookie battles, pretty much.
Cool.
How this year might be like the best rookie battle we've seen in a while.
It doesn't have much to live up to, but yeah.
Really quick, let's see. There's some other stories that came out. I say we should go right into the tale of 2 juniors, Truex and Stenhouse.
Cool.
What are your guys' takes? Because I'm sure they're hot and spicy.
I'm gonna be honest here. You know, Truex, he's just. I mean, we were talking about this before we went live.
Don't take my line. Don't take.
No,
my
I'm
line.
not gonna take your line. I'm not gonna take your line. I know. I'm gonna let you say it. But
good.
Truex has just been like ever since he started winning, on a consistent basis. Truex has just been the biggest complainer, and I don't even think he's even changed, because Truex has always been a huge complainer. But now that he's winning, it's more publicized in a way, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just didn't really see what I didn't see what Stenhouse did wrong there. Like, don't get me wrong, I know Stenhouse can be a bit of a wrecking ball at times, especially at Daytona. But I mean, when I watched the finish, he moved. I don't get it. Like, I mean, like, I guess Truex was like, oh, he was like ahead of me. He should have just like, he should have just moved out of the way as soon as I was coming. But I'm like, I don't think he held you up, man. Like, I mean, you still finished second. You were catching up there. You almost won the race and stuff. I don't think he held you up that much.
I didn't think do anything wrong.
Yeah. Here's the problem. That guy that, he was complaining about being a lap down, blocking him, was the outside pole sitter for this race. And we even heard, at least I heard in Radioactive, that by the end of that race, Stenhouse, they'd figure that car back out. He was racing for the free pass position. He likely had a top 5 car, maybe a top 10 car at least during that final run. So it's not like he's just going to lay over and let Truex go by. That being said, I kind of agree with you. Martin Truex Jr., I love the way he races, but I don't love the way he talks about other people racing. I think he needs to just kind of – I think he knows that he's one of the cleanest drivers out there. Like, that's the whole – going back to the whole Logano incident at Martinsville, he felt that he was offended by that because he knows he's one of the cleanest guys out there, and he didn't feel like that was fair of Logano to do that to him. And I agree with him. But I think there comes a point where he's holding other drivers to too high of a standard. Truex, you don't have to race this clean. You're allowed to bump people a little bit. Just because you don't bump people doesn't mean they're not allowed to race you hard back and bump you. So I also don't think he has a real good argument here. I'll side with Stenhouse. Stenhouse seems to be kind of – I've noticed there's at first I thought it was just coincidence. Last year at Daytona, Stenhouse made enemies and stuff like that. But now it feels like Fox and maybe some of the other people around NASCAR are going out of their way to make this a narrative that everybody hates Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah.
I've noticed that they play more clips. They point out more things Stenhouse does wrong, and I don't think Stenhouse isn't great.
Didn't
Stenhouse
they point
is
out
not great.
the meme last year too? Didn't NBC put that meme of Stenhouse as the giant car?
They might have.
I think they
Yeah,
put that on their
yeah.
broadcast. I was like, really?
And I don't. So I
Wow.
don't know. I don't agree with over here scapegoating Stenhouse for everyone's problems, and I think anyone agreeing with Truex wholeheartedly here is just a part of that. But that being said, yes, late in the race, you expect the guy to not race you too hard. The thing is, I just didn't see Stenhouse racing that hard. I mean, it looked like Truex never got very close to him, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
I
was
mean,
saying.
in Truex's defense, at that moment, your adrenaline is pumping so hard that I could kind of see him saying stuff like that in the heat of the moment. But
Yeah.
just how he's reacted since then, like by blocking Stenhouse, I think is kind of crazy. Actually, no, it was Stenhouse who blocked Truex, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, no, strike that.
So I was, I agree, but I saw this line, and I was going around on Reddit, and I saw this line that somebody put about it, and I think it's perfect. I think it's absolutely perfect about Truex right now. The man talks like he's Dale Sr. He talks like Dale Sr., but he races like Mark Martin, and that's just not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You talk this big game, he's not gonna win the war. How'd that turn out? It's like or like in 2011. Like again, this is goes back to the whole thing of Truex has complained for a long time. This isn't something new. The whole "you're fired, every single one of you." Nobody got fired. So
No, a few guys did, but it wasn't Truex's call.
no, and what I go back to is Truex races clean, and I do respect that. The thing is that these drivers now, they're not going to respect you for it. They're going to take advantage of you for it. Mm-hmm. So when push comes to shove, Truex will be the driver taken advantage of in a situation, whereas somebody like Joey Logano or Kyle Busch is more than likely going to be the benefactor of it. You see it with a lot of these drivers that are known for being clean drivers. You saw it with Mark Martin. You see it with Dale Jr. You saw it with Dale Jr. And you're going to see it with Truex, is that these guys get taken advantage of because they're too nice on the track at times. There's a reason that people get surprised when those drivers, bump somebody. Just bump somebody, not, wreck them. Just move them a little bit.
Truex
And-
is he's
Yeah, I mean,
clean,
talk
but
from
he's too
experience, that's true.
He's clean,
I
but
always tried to be one of the nicer guys, and I always got punted out of the way. I mean, I was the one guy everybody had the target on,
That's how Logano used to be.
just because they know I'm not
Oh,
good
yeah.
enough.
I think. You go ahead, Darren. You've already.
I just want to say, I mean, Truex, he's clean, but I feel like he's way too clean at times. I feel like he has this high standard of himself, and then like if somebody does something a little bit out there, as far as aggressive driving goes, he'll just freaking pounce on them and stuff and be like, oh, what the hell is he doing and stuff, like, this is ridiculous and all that stuff. And it's like, dude, it's just a little, he just bumped you out of the way just a
really
little bit.
quick.
It is stock car racing.
Really quick, I don't think I pointed this out yet. Jason Does Stuff donated $3.99 super chat. Thank you very much for that.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah.
Heartfelt,
Yeah,
man.
I agree with what you were saying though, Jared, about how people are taking advantage of Truex, and at some point he's gonna have to stand up to them. It's I'll use a perfect example. Another guy who kind of was tutored by Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, for years was respected or regarded as or maybe the cleanest driver in NASCAR, and then you saw towards the end of his career, especially with the Penske instance with Joey Logano, after he got wrecked a couple of weeks in a row by Penske cars, that finally broke it for him. And the last couple of years of his career, Matt Kenseth was no longer that nice guy as much. He bumped some people out of the way, and at some point, like, I respect clean racers. That's why I was a Matt Kenseth fan. I was a Mark Martin fan. I am a Martin Truex Jr. fan as far as his on-the-track style goes. But at some point, you can't hold everybody else. You can't expect everyone else to hold themselves to that same bar. Just because you hold yourself really high up and you're like, I'm never going to wreck anyone, you can't go and judge everyone else the same way. Because not everyone – that's not the only way to race a race car, drive a race car, at least not NASCAR. So if somebody does bump him, you can be a little upset about it. I think there's a difference. Him being upset at Logano and Martinsville, completely on Truex's side. Logano, that was a dirty move. It was fair to an extent, but it was dirty. Getting upset and like even venting about your post race interview with Stenhouse here, that just comes across as petty. That just comes across as like, come on, man, you got to work for it. You can't just expect it to be handed to you. So I can kind of I understand where Truex is coming from. Martin Truex Jr. makes me think of like 2012, 2013 Matt Kenseth. He's at some point going to need to become more like 2015, 2016 Matt Kenseth if he really wants to win more championships, I think.
Yeah, because I think that whilst people haven't taken too much advantage of this so far, he's shown it as his weakness. Like he's been exposed in that regard, similar to how I think to a degree at times Kyle Busch being over aggressive has been exposed. And granted, now that he's more of a mature and better driver, it's harder to get him past to that point. But I mean, earlier in his career, Kyle Busch had all the raw talent in the world, and his over aggressiveness is usually what did him in. He would either try and take somebody out or basically be taken out, and or he would in tracks where he needed to conserve his stuff, he'd just go flat out right off the bat, charge up to the front, take the lead, and then all his stuff was gone in the first 25% of the race. Now he's a more mature driver and has been able to fix that about himself. He's much more of a threat on a weekly basis, I think. And I think we'd all agree since the Gen 6. And I think this is something at this point in his career is going to define how Truex does in his stint with JGR and how long it's going to last. Is he going to continue to show this weakness of he's the clean driver, he's not going to retaliate, he's you can do whatever the heck you want to him? Or is he going to be the driver that's going to put his foot down and say, enough is enough, get the hell out of my way? So that's my take on it there, is that he might not be, it might not look like it, but he, in a way, being this clean and not doing anything, even bumping somebody. I mean, I remember at Martinsville, he raced Logano incredibly clean, didn't touch his car, but Logano was going to take advantage of that. He knew Truex wasn't going to get back at him. We all did.
Yeah.
I think even though some of us said different stuff, it's probably because we wanted to believe Truex would, but we all knew that if it came down to Truex and Logano at Homestead, and Truex had the opportunity to bump him or move him, the way that Larson pulled a slide job on Kyle Busch at Chicago, we knew Truex wasn't going to do that to Logano. So that in my opinion is where we're at right now, is that this is going to go on the rest of the year. If Truex keeps racing up front. My question is Truex going to do anything about it? That's my biggest question moving forward. And I think that's something we need to look at all year. Also, in fitting fashion, Stenhouse blocked Truex again, this time on Twitter. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, no, the whole backstory behind that was Junior said, someone asked him, how many people do you have blocked or muted? And he said 68 blocked and about 290 muted. And then Stenhouse replied, 0 blocked, 0 muted. Then Junior said, oh, well, funny you say that, because Truex just sent this to me, and Truex was blocked by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And that was today, too. That was before the podcast. That was just a couple hours before the podcast. So, yeah, that was funny.
Does that fit into the anti-Stenhouse narrative for the media?
Probably, yeah. Probably will.
I was just thinking about that, because it kind of fits up with it. It's like, Junior works for NBC now, and he just basically, kicked Stenhouse to the curb there. I mean, to be fair, Junior has the ability on Twitter nowadays. I've noticed he becomes the ornery old man when he wants to be, for better or worse.
Yeah.
So I wanted to read a few little tidbits here or there, just some things that I think people would like to hear. So, where were you today 7 years ago? I know where I was. I was sitting on the couch with a broken leg watching the Daytona 500, because on this day 7 years ago...
Actually, this exact time 7 years ago, it was probably still raining, so I was probably just sitting there waiting for the race to get back started.
7:54?
I don't know.
No, they were starting. No, they were starting.
I think it started at that point. But yes, I was sitting there, and in a few hours' time would be completely amazed by the fact that jet dryers could in fact blow up being hit by a car. Yes, that race was 7 years ago today. Also, another little tidbit, There are two drivers this year that have finished in the top 10 in both races. Kyle Busch and Eric Jones. Now, I'm not surprised about Kyle Busch, but Eric Jones is one that, even though I do like Jones talent-wise, surprised me. How about you guys? Are you guys surprised? I think Eric's probably the least surprised of us.
I'm a little
I mean,
surprised.
yeah, somewhat.
I'm a little surprised only because I expect Jones to be good at mile and a halves and short tracks, super speedways. I mean, I know he won at Daytona last year. It's his only win, but I don't know. It's Daytona 500. I set my expectations low, but I mean, it's cool. I think Jones has a real chance to win 2 or 3 races and make a deep playoff run. So it's
Yeah,
a good start.
I mean, it's way too early to really say anything because we're only 2 races in,
Yeah.
and he kind of lucked into that at Daytona. But really, I was kind of expecting him to do pretty good this year, but I doubt he's going to keep this streak going on very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sort of right on the bar with that. I mean, it's too early to tell right now, but I mean, you're running in Joe Gibbs equipment. I mean, you're sort of expected to finish in the top 10 in almost every race. First 2 races, nah, it's just too early to tell right now.
No,
Get
but
about 5 races in and then ask me that.
all I
Yeah.
said was it was a good start. I mean, like you said, only 2 guys have top 10s
Yeah,
to
it
start
is.
this year. It's just, it's a good start. And I do think Eric Jones will have a solid. I think he'll make at least round of 12, maybe round of 8 this year. So
Yeah, and I kind of with it. I the way I see it, and this is how I've sort of gauged who's there and who isn't, is the Las Vegas race, right? So the Las Vegas race back when the chase was 10 and then 12 drivers, the majority of the people finishing in the top 15, if they finished in the top 15, more than likely they would be in the chase that year. And I think that the same thing goes even with the 16-man chase for the most part, or playoffs, I should say, for the most part, because these are the people who are going to be competing at the mile and a half tracks. Las Vegas sort of gives you that good gauge, and I think with this package, Vegas will probably give us the best gauge we have on who's going to be running up front all year. So if Eric Jones is running up in the top 10 or even the top 5 this week, I'm going to be a lot more excited for him moving forward. If the Hendrick cars are in the top 5 or top 10 this week, or even if they're in the top 15, like let's put the bar a little lower for them. If they're in the top 15 this week, I will be pleasantly surprised and think that they might have a little hope moving forward. But if there's a team, like if SHR, let's say, shows up and they run like 20th, 21st, 27th, and 30th, and it's like nothing to do with any failures or crashes, then I would be really worried moving forward, because that like I said, this is the gauge here. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think Las Vegas in years past, I feel like it would have been a more accurate kind of baseline race, but with the new package, with I think a little bit more randomness to it, perhaps with the draft, I think you'll see guys like Ty Dillon, like Daniel Hemrick, maybe flirt with the top 5 at some point in this race. Whereas in years past that would never happen. So it's still a tough gauge, but you'll still get an idea. I mean, even at Daytona, where it's kind of a crapshoot, you could still see that Penske was the fastest team last week or a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think this is the first real test this year, and if Hendrick can't figure it out, I'd be worried. Of course, Gibbs with Kyle Busch, Jones, Hamlin, all them. You'd like to see them continue to be good, but it'll be interesting.
I'm not
Yeah, I
really
would've-
sure. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I would especially be concerned for the teams not doing well, especially if they were at that test in Vegas, because you got to remember, these guys have laps right now with the setup at that track. So you think they would know more what they need, and the drivers know how to move the cars around there more. So if you're not doing good this week, I would honestly be really concerned about how the rest of the season's going to go for you.
Yeah.
Especially on these mile and a half, which are probably the most important track to be good on, since that makes up the bulk of the schedule.
I mean, I'm not really sure if Vegas is really the true gauge anymore. I mean, I'm going to be honest here. I mean, yeah, it's the first race with the new package, but I mean, there's so many unknowns. I feel like maybe the second or even the third race with this new package will probably be like, the true gauge to see how teams will actually run once they have about right around 2 to 3 races under their belts with this new rules package. So that's what I think.
Another story that came out was this one made me laugh because as much as I might make jokes here or there about Reddit, I do go on Reddit a lot. And the one that I go on the most and this is the geek in me, is I go into Reddit prequel memes because they have the greatest sense of humor ever, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that NASCAR made Reddit prequel memes. Now, why I think that this is something worth talking about is, one, because it's on my channel and I can, but two, let me just look up Reddit prequel memes really quick and we'll see how many followers it has, because I'm pretty sure it's got 900,000
Oh, close to a
followers,
million.
which that good math, Darian. Which again isn't huge, but if you look at compared to Reddit NASCAR, it's like 4 times as big, and it's another one that sort of it makes the rounds around the trending tab. So I think that's something really cool. Also, speaking of different media, looking at what I got here that NASCAR has been a part of this week, Bubba Wallace was on Cold as Balls with Kevin Hart. So
Oh yeah.
That was awesome. I actually I watched that at work yesterday, and like I got made fun of a little bit. It was at lunch, and I was watching it on my phone and stuff, and then this older dude looks over and he's like, and he says this out loud. There's a bunch of females in the room. Why are you watching 2 naked guys on your phone, Darian? I'm like, what? He's like, there's 2 naked guys in your phone. I'm like,
Red alert! Red alert!
I'm
Sound
like,
the
wow.
alarm.
I'm like, wow. And he says this out loud, and like everyone's looking at me. I'm just like, no, it's just watching Cold Takes or Cold as Balls with Bubba Wallace.
that probably didn't help your case.
It's Kevin Hart, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
Cold as Balls does sound a little bit like a porno.
yeah. I was just like, I said that, and I was like, oh crap. But luckily, all the females knew what I was talking about, so they were like, we know.
I haven't
Oh
seen
man,
it.
you got so
Was it
lucky
funny?
there.
Yeah. But it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. He interviewed him and stuff, so it was pretty cool. It's good to see a NASCAR driver get out there on like those big
Oh,
media
yeah.
platforms like that. I mean, that channel has about, I think, 3.4 million subscribers.
Yeah, that's
So
huge.
it's good to see the exposure.
I was shocked to see it.
A lot of exposure to NASCAR there.
Yeah, I was shocked to see it, but I mean, good for Bubba, good for NASCAR. The only problem, it's just, this is my problem with it. Bubba's not good.
Yeah,
we
he's
need
not
the
good.
actual good drivers to get this kind of publicity. That's the
Well,
problem. Bubba's got this big personality. He's great for the sport, but he's on a bad team. I don't think he's a great driver. It's all the bad for him right now.
Well, this is sort of like
We
go ahead.
need Chase Elliott to be up for doing fun things like this. We need Kyle Larson to want to do fun things like this. We need Jimmy to want to do fun things like this, but they don't. And so that's the only problem with it. But it is cool that NASCAR got that kind of cool publicity. It's a couple weeks in a row now. NASCAR's gotten some pretty neat publicity in places I wouldn't have expected.
Well,
So.
speaking
No,
of,
I agree.
Speaking
Go
of
ahead.
that, though, really quick, would Corey LaJoy count as one of those drivers getting out there to Eric?
That's the thing. Corey LaJoy
I mean,
is like the
I'm
poster
glad
child of
to be,
Barstool
yeah.
and Old Spice, but he's trash, or he's on a trash team at least.
Well,
so-
and yeah, because he was on Barstool Radio, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of Barstool a little bit with NASCAR, they also had this post that was pretty well received. I was actually really surprised to see on one of their affiliates. And it was of Dick Trickle, under caution, smoking a cigarette. So
Classic.
Iconic.
Old classic, iconic image.
there's another driver that didn't perform very well, but is one of the people that's out there now. They're just fitting the narrative, whether they put a 90s driver plug in or not.
Well,
But-
with the whole Bubba
Yeah,
appearance on
something
there,
people
that's
forget,
sort of-
just kind of going into that Dick Trickle was actually mentioned on that 70s show. So
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
That's
there's a
right.
joke about his name, but
The most
That's right.
favorite driver that probably no one ever knew what he looked like in the public.
Yeah. But just back to the whole Bubba appearance. Like, just imagine like if he was just doing well. This would be so awesome. I mean, this is sort of this is Danica levels of exposure. You know, to be on a big platform like that, to me, or at least approaching there. So Bubba just needs to be on a good team for it to work, because I've had people tell me like, hey, I'm gonna start watching, I saw Bubba's racing and stuff. I might start watching this year. And then they see like, oh, he's just running so bad. He's running like 27, 3 laps down, and then they're like, oh, no, like, sorry.
It's
not good.
remember a couple of years back when Kevin Harvick made those controversial comments where he said Dale Jr. the fact that he never won a championship hurt the sport's popularity.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said hurts the sport's popularity, but it definitely didn't help it as much as it could.
He said stunted. I think he's
Stunted.
Like,
That's the word he used. It stunted its growth, and it's a fair comment. Dale Jr.'s done great things for the sport, but if he'd won a championship, 2 championships, 3 championships, NASCAR would still be as big. It was still been as big in 2013 as it was in 2001. I guarantee it. But he didn't, and so that definitely hurt its growth a little bit. And unfortunately, NASCAR's new most popular driver, Chase Elliott, has a grand total of 3 career wins in 3 years. And it's just, I'm worried that we're going to keep fans like to root for the underdog, but at some point, people are going to get tired when your favorite driver doesn't win. You know,
well, it's that big mistake that they keep making with marketing. They keep making this mistake with marketing of putting their eggs all in one basket. It's like, you know, as much as people really like Dale Jr., right here, all over it.
Right here.
I don't see it. I don't see it. Where is it?
Where is it? I can't see. No, but as much as we all liked Dale Jr., you know, speaking of NASCAR fans as a whole, it was a stupid idea to put all of your eggs in that basket and basically prop him up as the next version of his father. That's a dumb move.
Yeah, I mean, look at what every other sport does. You know, they market, you know, any player they can find who has had success. And with NASCAR, they just do it on 1 or 2 guys. And a lot of times it's because of their name. Like, even with Chase Elliott, you got to remember, he's Bill Elliott's son, who was a huge driver back in his day. So, of course, you got to expect he's going to be popular. So when he's not as successful as everybody hopes, people are going to get disappointed.
Yeah.
That's a mistake.
Right on.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing this time. And something that I actually really liked about last year, even though I'm not a fan of 2 of the 3 drivers. This was the big 3. You're finally propping somebody up that isn't the most popular driver. You're finally propping people up not off of you know, clout with the fans, but off of performance on the track. And so we had that storyline, and while it didn't translate into TV numbers, I think, as Eric said before, you know, the Dale Jr. effect last year, it was going to be a negative year. You know, it's just how negative. But moving forward, that could help the sport if they were choosing to evolve to that. If Chase Elliott has a horrible year this year, and they do what they did with Dale Jr., and even if he's running 25th in points, they're like putting him on the billboards and the stuff for Fox, like with all the drivers each week, and Chase Elliott's ahead of, let's say, Kyle Busch, Truex, and let's say Suarez comes out of nowhere and starts winning, but they put Chase Elliott in front. I don't know what to say. It might be a network problem more than a NASCAR problem, because I've noticed NASCAR pushes more people forward than the networks more do. But
well, remember last year they had the whole, you know, young drivers versus, you know, the old drivers thing, and it backfired the beginning of the year. I mean, there was very little success outside of Bubba Wallace's second place finish. You had, you know, Chase Elliott didn't start winning until towards the end of the season. Suarez was bad. Jones was decent, but like he wasn't like, you know, winning a ton of races.
Right,
you know,
here,
basically.
Like Cahill 145 put, young drivers versus old drivers. Well, if that's the case, then that, you know, I don't know what do we want to have that be the equivalent of? We'll have the end of 300. How about that? The 300 there, they were the young drivers. They got massacred last year. Their legend lived on as a utter disappointment.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
NASCAR's just missing it. Like, drivers that win do gain popularity. Like guys that win a lot these days. I know Kyle Busch has a lot of haters. Kevin Harvick's got a lot of haters. They also got a lot of fans. I remember going to a couple races last year with Kevin Harvick winning all those things. That felt like there was double the Kevin Harvick fans than I'd ever seen before. I was like, where'd all these Kevin Harvick fans come from? So people like a winner. Guy starts winning, people come and start watching. You know, people will cheer for that person. So I think, NASCAR, I think they're making the right decision, propping up Chase Elliott a little bit, but Chase Elliott's got to back it up. It's unfair pressure to put on a guy, but it is pressure. And, you know, if you live up to that pressure, you live up to that hype, you're going to be the most successful driver ever. Like, if Chase Elliott is able to meet any level of expectations that we put upon him, he's going to be set. He's going to have the endorsement deals. He's going to have the trophies. He's going to have all that stuff. You know, but it is a high pressure. It's, you know, it's the same thing as if you're going to play quarterback in the NFL, there's a chance you're going to be like a superstar, star of the town. You know, you're responsible for all of our wins every season. But if you suck, or if you're just not that good and the team loses, you're going to become the GOAT. Everyone, or not the GOAT isn't the greatest of all time, but you're going to be, the scapegoat, I guess, for all of everyone's problems. So it's a risk. It's a high risk, high reward situation for guys like Chase Elliott. And I don't know. I don't know if it's right.
I forgot
Yeah,
who
I just
talked
find it
about.
so dumb NASCAR putting all this pressure on the smaller guys because in most cases, youth versus experience is going to come out on top.
Mhm.
And even when you look at so many of these guys who are winning several races now, it took them a while to get to this point. And we're expecting these young guys to have this success right off the bat. So it's just a completely unfair assessment that we're putting on them.
Honestly, NASCAR should just focus on marketing like the top 10 drivers. Like, okay, if you finished top 10 in points last year, boom, we're gonna focus all of our marketing on these guys, or at least most of it.
Well, I think it was Kevin Harvick that said it. And while Kevin Harvick, I think we can all agree, he can put his foot in his mouth a few times. He does have some pretty fair and good assessments about the sport, whether it's brutally honest or not. And I found it interesting. I believe it was him that said that the only person coming up that could be as big as Chase Elliott as the face of the sport would be Haley Deegan. And then we had that conversation before about, do we put that much pressure already on a 17-year-old kind of thing? And I think that's moving forward. What we're probably gonna see with NASCAR marketing is we're probably gonna see as she moves up the ranks, that sort of almost like how Dale Jr. had like the countdown to E-Day. We're gonna have the countdown to when Haley Deegan gets the Cup, and you're gonna see the Truck Series get a lot more put on it when Haley Deegan's there, and then the Xfinity, and hopefully as hopefully she moves up and does better and better. So like when she makes the Cup, I could guarantee you'll see something that I think you'll see a marketing. It won't be as focused, I don't think, on one specific thing as Danica's was with it being a female driver, due to the fact that she's made her way up through stock cars. Hopefully, knock on wood. But at the same time, it's going to be something that rivals Chase Elliott. And I think that's something the sport needs. They need more than one. If they're going to market drivers and vastly outmarket them than anyone else, there needs to be more than one so they can at least have that competition, or at least a sense of competition against two popular drivers kind of thing. They have to have something that changes the face of the sport, whether it's market the top 10 drivers, whether it's market 2 or 3 really popular drivers. They have to do something. Or if they just do it every year and they change who they market as the year goes on, they have to change it up, because doing this right now, it's proven that it doesn't work long term.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of another thing that might not work long term, but it'll work at least short term to get a few rock and roll fans into the building, is Motley Crue will be the Grand Marshals for the Auto Club 400. They have a new biopic coming out, I believe, in a month. I think it's coming out on Netflix, which I'm prety excited to see. I'm a big Motley Crue fan. Got to see them. So that's gonna be something cool. What do you guys think? You think that's just?
I don't really know who that is, honestly.
Shane,
Yeah,
What?
Yeah,
I don't
really listen to them like that.
I don't listen to Motley Crue, and I'll be honest,
Well, you guys are missing out.
yes.
I don't, when I think mainstream celebrities, I don't think Motley Crue. But if they do have a movie coming out, then maybe that makes sense. That's why they got this. But it's Auto Club. They always have celebrities. Southern California. They always show up to that race.
Well, I believe it was
That's
Vince
cool.
Neil, actually, the lead singer. He used to race cars back in the
Yeah.
day. So.
Yeah, he ran Indy Lights, I think, for half the season, and then he quit because he sucked at it.
Someone said,
Let's get him on the
Darian,
Yeah, look it
podcast.
up.
Someone
Look it
said
up.
Darian. Someone said Darian. You uncultured swine.
I agree. How do you guys not
I
know
don't
who
know
Motley
that.
Crue is?
I mean-
You've never heard "Kickstart My Heart"?
I probably have. Maybe I probably have, but maybe I don't know.
All right,
So
dude,
I don't know. I don't really listen to.
Due to the
like,
fact
rock
that
like
I
that.
don't want to get hit with a copyright strike because I'm already worried about the Teresa lawsuit, I will play you guys after the show "Kickstart My Heart."
Oh, okay.
There you go.
You
play it,
uncultured swine.
yeah. God.
I won't even focus on myself. You gotta listen to Motley. How'd you not listen to Motley Crue?
I don't listen. We don't like.
You don't listen to good music. I forgot that. I forgot.
No, we don't listen to that stuff. We don't listen to that stuff around here.
Wait, Darian, where are you from?
I'm from North Las Vegas.
Yeah, he
Las
did.
Vegas?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
So that's
Here,
a pretty
what-
Motley Crue place. Just saying.
Oh,
Hey,
no, like
here,
I've always just listened to like
Michael, I'll
rappers
tell you
and
this.
stuff.
I'll tell you this: how I know he hasn't been too far out of Vegas. We're gonna go dig through the vault here and bring back an old meme. He did not know how to pronounce John Deere.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago.
You know how he pronounced it?
Deary. I said
John
Deary.
Deary. He also doesn't know what a
God.
tornado shelter is.
Yeah, I said
Well, I'm
Deary.
from Kentucky, so I knew how to say that from like when I was born.
Wait, you don't know what a tornado shelter is, Darian?
He didn't.
Yeah, I don't know what a tornado is like. I don't know what that is either. It's like,
Watch
we don't
the
have-
first 5 minutes of Twister.
Well, to be fair, those aren't really popular anymore.
Have you seen The Wizard of Oz? Like as a kid, did you have a childhood?
No,
Darian?
I know what a tornado shelter is, but like, we
No,
don't
he's
have
too
that.
stubborn.
Oh,
He's too
yeah,
Okay,
stubborn.
okay, fair enough.
Right,
fair enough.
Mr. Creeper? I saw that in the chat. I had to say it. Oh, we're going to get stuck on memes, so we should probably go to another meme. How about this? This Friday, I believe, is the truck race, right? Right, Darian?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
it is.
Good. I'm testing your PR skills. It's not because I forgot. Mr. Beast, the YouTuber, will
Yes!
be sponsoring a truck, the number 33
Oh
truck.
man,
Subscribe to PewDiePie.
This is a story
Wait, do we actually?
everyone on here, just let you know, exit this stream right now. Go subscribe to PewDiePie.
We don't want him to leave.
Yeah, just open up another tab while you're watching this and subscribe to PewDiePie.
Yeah, whatever.
Have we confirmed? Has it been confirmed that that's what the truck is gonna say?
It's more than yeah.
More
I
than
mean, it said it
likely.
in the entry list. Yeah, I mean,
Well, the entry list just said Mr. Beast. Didn't say
Well,
what it was gonna
because
say.
I don't think legally he probably can use PewDiePie's name, just just because they're probably wanting to be safe with like the legal issues and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he could say subscribe to Pewds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Subscribe to
Good thinking.
Felix.
We'll know what we mean.
Who is this random Swedish guy? I don't know. We'll just put him on the hood.
So the people in my in the whole PR department at LVMS, they're a bit older than I am, and I was like telling them like, hey, have you ever heard of Mr. Beast? And they were like, no. Is that like some YouTuber? I'm like, yeah, he has like 15 million subscribers. He's like, doing the whole, subscribe to PewDiePie thing. He donates like $10,000 sometimes on random people's streams from time to time. Pretty cool guy. He's going to be coming out here to sponsor a truck, and we need to get on top of this. We need to freaking market this we need to tweet this out on our social media accounts and all that. So we're going to try and make it happen though.
I'm just saying that would be some good publicity if he does
Yeah.
that.
Who is
Yeah.
he? Who is he sponsoring though? Right? Isn't it
Josh
Rayum? Rayum?
Mhm.
I don't know how to say his name.
Josh Rayum, is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how to
he's
pronounce his
Canadian, so
Oh, really quick super chat from the other White Castle. NASCAR will get 4 million new 9-year-old fans now. Yes.
In the
Yep.
truck series.
In the truck
will get
series,
4
yeah.
million. Yeah.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. I've been following Mr. Beast for a little while now, and he's one of the more charismatic and fun YouTubers to follow. I know a lot of those bigger ones, aside from like the PewDiePies or the Jenna Marbles, seem to sort of grow a giant ego, and he's one of the few that I don't think has, or at least he doesn't show it. He's done a very good job not showing it if he hasn't already. But Mr. Beast, if you're for some reason looking up NASCAR stuff and you stumble upon us, come on the podcast.
Well, we
Or
know
already
Mr.
sent an
Beast
email.
watches our show all the time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Why are
What do
you
you think I would
donating?
sponsor a truck?
Yeah, but no. So yeah, if a bunch of you want to tweet him out about that, see if you can get Mr. Beast to respond to come on the
I think he'll
podcast.
donate
That's,
some money.
yes,
People give us
even
10,000.
better. We'll split it among everyone,
that-
guests included.
2,500 each. I mean, that would buy me 4 races. So
Yes, Mr. Beast, do that. That we will split it among the guests as well. We are unselfish here at the NASCAR Weekly
okay,
Podcast.
well, hold on. Let's not get too crazy.
Yeah,
Sales
I'm
pitch.
I'm excited to see. I think it's a good thing to see a YouTuber, an internet celebrity, if that's the right word, to get involved in NASCAR in some way. I'll be honest, it's the least he can do. Like literally, he's sponsoring a
truck.
mediocre truck. Like I don't know, it's not gonna.
I don't think I wouldn't even be that kind with it. That truck's like more of a back marker truck.
He's basically sponsoring the worst vehicle that's going to be at Las Vegas this weekend. So I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's some momentous thing. Hopefully he makes a video or two about it, maybe gains some younger fans, maybe at least piques their interest in NASCAR. That'd be great. I don't really watch Mr. Beast videos. I don't really know that much about him.
Yeah, me neither. But
He's a good dude.
But it is
platform and stuff though.
That's
So it's
on
cool.
occasion.
The PewDiePie meme.
Good.
The PewDiePie meme is fine. That I care much less about that. I care more about the fact that he's giving NASCAR money. But so we'll see.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's cool. It's cool to see, I guess.
Wait, didn't T-Series pass PewDiePie though?
For about a minute.
Oh, okay.
They were
Just,
close.
Yeah.
just pass him, get it over with. I'm sick of the whole. So,
You uncultured
PewDiePie
swine.
thing. Yeah,
You're
just get it over
uncultured
with
swine.
T-Series. Put everyone out.
Good thing Danny's not here.
Oh, he will be. We're actually getting close to that point that he'll be here. So.
That's right.
So let's get through some of these things before we put our picks in. Atlanta ratings down a little, but not as bad as last year. The decrease from last year. It was a 3.0 this year from a 3.1, so not terrible. Nearly flat.
The
I think
Truck
that's
Series ratings increased.
Yeah.
They increased a little bit. That's what's
Natalie
up.
Decker.
a win. Are we bringing
Oh, wow.
another old meme back?
Well,
For
I'm
those
just
of you
saying.
who don't know, I mean, she spun out twice. in
She
the
did,
third race.
but she brought the ratings up. I'll bet you that was mostly Decker.
Probably.
Oh my God, she's gonna be another Danica Patrick. I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way it's going.
So Darian, is she the real
What?
deal?
I already made a revisiting video on her. Like, no way.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad that we're gonna have
You're
her
gonna
on
do
the
a
show one day,
revisit
right?
after the truck season?
Yeah, revisit.
yeah, revisiting. Like, oh my god, like just confirming what I already said.
I mean, that's where it's going so far.
She's racing in Vegas this week though, so it'll be really interesting to see if she'll.
See-
And also she's also commented on one of my videos before, so I think she actually knows who I am and stuff to a certain
The
extent. so-
positive video on her.
Yeah, the positive one, not the negative one though. She's probably seen the negative one though. She's like,
NASCAR equivalent. Natalie Decker to you is like Star Wars movies to Red Letter Media. If we want to look at a NASCAR equivalent, for any
What a
of you that
reference.
know. Oh yeah, I will pull those references out of nowhere. Freaking nerf herders. Damn it! No one got that one. Okay. Anyway, moving
That one
on.
didn't hit.
What?
I said that. Yeah, that one didn't hit.
Moving
that
on.
one hit.
Anyway, Chicagoland Speedway has recently announced, according to Adam Stern, that they're hosting dirt bike races on the June NASCAR weekend. So, interesting. That's something that I'm interested in, actually.
Yeah. That's cool. And I saw actually, since your home track's getting a facelift, Texas announced today they're building kind of like a new like deck or like bar, like kind of like chill area over by turn 1. Looks pretty modern, looks pretty cool. So the
I mean-
tracks that struggle the most with attendance gotta do what they gotta do to try and boost those ticket sales.
Especially with the contract ending.
I
So-
mean,
Yeah,
EDC.
it's a brighter future than my home track.
I mean, Vegas has EDC coming up, so yay! There's that. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Carnation already has put a tweet out about me.
There you go.
Jarrett might be a nerd, but he's an enjoyable nerd, one for sure. Well, thank you, Carnation.
I didn't think he was watching. I thought he wasn't watching though.
Oh, he's probably just when he can. Hey,
Oh.
he does his part.
That's
He's
what's
always
up.
watching.
Don't question Carnation.
Oh, also another notable thing. Ryan Reed makes his NASCAR return this weekend or this Friday for the truck race.
He does. Oh.
Yeah,
driving very long.
driving the 17 for DGR Crosley Racing. Yeah, I don't know what to expect honestly. Probably maybe just like a top 5 run. You know, it is the Truck Series.
Oh,
I
a
mean,
top 5 run.
Yeah, that's
really
putting it a
quick.
little high.
I'm reading
It's
in the
Ryan
chat.
Reed we're talking about.
Really?
Ryan Newman.
it's a
I mean,
Truck
top 15 if he's lucky.
Yeah, just really quick. I just read in the chat. This made me laugh. Ultimate Dragon put an instigating nerd. Good one. You got me on that one. That's one of the best memes of the last year. I love that one. Like that was awesome. Go back to what you're saying, Ryan Reed.
Y'all don't expect a top 5 run though in that equipment though?
No.
Really?
No.
Really?
Nah.
All right. I mean, it is the Truck Series though.
I
know
mean,
it's very
I'm barely
competitive, but-
expecting a top 15, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 12th
Really?
to 15th is what I'm guessing.
I mean, I know he's
If he doesn't
bad,
work in
but
the
I don't
first
think
few laps.
I know he's bad, but I
Hey.
don't think he's that bad though.
Hey.
Like,
Okay, then I'll ask you this: how did you think that Jeffrey Earnhardt was going to do in JGR equipment?
I thought he was gonna get a top 10, probably, like somewhere around there. At
And
least top
how's
10.
he done?
And he gets a top 5.
There you go.
There you go.
Nope. Got a 6.
I don't know. DGR Crossley in the trucks is not Gibbs in Xfinity, so I'm not going to say he's going to get a top 5. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Also, one little thing: Denny Hamlin Short Track Showdown this year is shut down. Eric, I think you said you saw a little more about that than we did.
Yeah, it's canceled just for this year, as far as I know. I don't think it's canceled. In fact, the official statement I read right before we went on the air said that they're planning to still have it in the next few years. It's just this year, for whatever reason, they didn't say a reason. The track that they wanted to use, or the track that I guess they've been using, issues with them. I don't know what it is. So
Yeah, and one reason I heard was there was actually a All-Star Circuit of Champions race planned for that night. So I heard they didn't want to interfere with that. But I mean, you think you could just reschedule it?
Can you imagine if someone like if NASCAR said, "Yeah, we're canceling the 500 this year, the Daytona 500. We're gonna cancel it this year, but next year it'll be back."
make it
Really
Oh
quick,
my God.
really quick, I got a super chat from Ryan Robinson. Says, "Hey guys, love watching. Y'all make NASCAR fun." Well, thanks. That's the
Aw.
intention.
Thanks, Matt.
So thank you so
I
much
don't know
for
if
that.
I'm on here, but thanks.
Oh, trust me, man. It's been fun tonight. It's been really fun having you on.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
And seeing the thing is now that we've gotten through all the news stories and stuff, you're gonna be on now for the most fun part of it, the picks, the picks for Vegas.
Okay.
So really quick, just doing a rundown, give you a rundown of what we do for the picks, and then for also anyone who's new here, what we do is we pick first who's gonna suck, just flat out who's gonna suck this week, who's gonna be awful. Then we pick our sleeper, which this one's always fun because we always do whether it's a sleeper for the win or top 5, who cares? And then obviously the pick for the win. So we'll start off. Darian, go first. Who's gonna suck this week?
Oh, Chase Elliott. He's hitting. He's either hit or miss here. He finished in the top 30 the first race out here. Then second race out here, he was like third, and then just in the last race, he just fell off a cliff. Man, I think he got involved in a wreck with McMurray, I believe.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the race there. So Chase Elliott, I mean, he's very hit or miss here. So gotta go with Elliott.
Guess you never miss.
Guess they never miss, huh?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Hendrick train. I know it was just Atlanta, but I don't think that whole team's. I don't know if they're gonna run super well. I'll go William Byron. I think he runs mid-20s, and I think that'll be that.
Who's your suck pick, Michael?
Yeah.
I call last.
Yeah, I hate to help gain up on Hendrick, but I gotta go with that train too. I'm just gonna go with Jimmy Johnson because I don't remember him having too much success here lately. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I can get my results confused.
He
But
didn't
I
do
really
too
don't
hot.
remember him doing very well there. And if his team is anything like it was last week, I'm really not expecting huge things this season from them. So, kind of got to go with him for my suck pick.
For my suck pick, I'm gonna read off Running Racing's comment. Hit or miss? I guess Chase is a miss, huh? Yeah, he is. He is a miss. And it's because I was reading this in my trusty racing magazine that I'm not sponsored by the way. But 3 wrecks in the last 4 races at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the other rest of his record really isn't that good to show. Granted, some of those wrecks were not of his doing, not of his fault. He did run okay at those races, but numbers don't lie where he finished, and Chase Elliott has not finished well, so he will not be on my NASCAR fantasy team this week.
I believe he has an average finish of like 30.4, or like 30.4 at LVMS, I believe. When I was doing the programs, I believe it's somewhere around there, though. In the 30s, so not the best.
Speaking of
Ooh,
NASCAR fantasy, though, how are you guys doing in our league so far?
Oh, yeah, hold on. Let me put that up really
I'm
quick.
in the top 66th percentile.
Yeah. Yeah, hold on. Let me put it up really quick. All right.
I think I'm like
I'm about to
33rd.
share
I don't
screen.
think that's for fantasy, so.
All right, I'm about to share screen, y'all. The NASCAR.
All right,
weekly
I'll
podcast.
present you.
There you go.
I know
The
that
NASCAR
I know all the podcast guys are in the top 33.
The NASCAR Weekly Podcast Fantasy League. Right now, Larson Line 42 is the only one with over 400 points. And then here's the rest. Here's another interesting. Here's another. This is my mom, by the way. She's in
Hey,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, so my mom's in the top 12 right now, or she's at least tied for 12.
She's beating all of us.
And then there I am in 19th. I think I'm the highest podcast panel guy.
Looks like you are. I see. I'm down in 28th, so not too bad.
Yeah, got Eric Estepp in 28th, and where you at, Jarrett? Oh, there's
33rd.
Cody H Gaming.
I'm
He's
33rd. I'm tied with Cody.
Yeah, I just
Oh, we
saw
got
it.
We're-
five.
we're
Wait,
doing-
five for 33rd.
We're doing a flashback to the core league where Cody and I are tied for most of the year.
Yeah, we got a four-way tie right there for 33rd. N2SC
Joseph.
4 is 39th. Yeah, Joseph's 39th right there.
I love
And,
that one. Cal eats dirty bush. Love that name.
All right, let's see.
MDK. Hey, you missed MDK. He's 61st.
Oh, MDK, yep, 61st, and then Brendan Littell Gaming, 72nd. D-Ray 77th.
Ooh, rough start.
Hasn't been the rough start. Well, he won the core championship, so it's all good. It evens out. And
Is
then,
that wait? I'm asking. Is Michael Waltrip Racing just Eric Keplinger's pseudonym?
I believe that is. I believe that is his probably. So
Ooh.
Michael Racing not off to a good
Yeah, I can
start.
see that.
And then here's the
Carnation.
basement. Here's the basement. We
What
got
incarnation?
5 players who haven't played yet.
Still
so-
better than Michael Waltrip was in 2007 at this time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh my god, that was painful.
But yeah.
I don't think he
NASCAR
got
Weekly
out of
Pod-
the negative.
But yeah, the NASCAR Weekly Podcast Fantasy League. It's pretty competitive so far, and yeah, I've had a pretty fun time playing it the first 2 races. So make sure to set your guys' lineup for Vegas.
All right, so we've done our suckers, sleepers, same order.
Oh, all right. So I'm gonna go with BJ McLeod because he's not gonna wreck on pit road this week. Now I'm just playing. No, that's not my. That's not my sleeper there, dog. But I don't know if that team doesn't wreck anyone or if they're not wrecking on pit road, that's a win. That's a win this week. So gotta take baby steps there before you can walk. But I'm gonna go with Ryan Preece this week. What he showed me during last week for the Atlanta race, that team really shocked me. I was expecting him to run somewhere in the probably the top 15 at best, but I mean him and Chris Buescher were both running inside the top 10 there. Really impressed me. Unfortunately, BJ McLeod and that joke of a team, Rick Ware Racing, unfortunately ended his day. So relegated him from a top 10 finish to a DNF. So got to go with Ryan Preece here this week.
All right. I was thinking I was gonna go Ryan Blaney as my sleeper, but then I thought, nah, I think he's too good. I can't.
He's
not
good there. He's really good there, though.
I can't make him my sleeper pick. So I'm gonna go with somebody who's in good equipment, probably equal equipment, but I would say has not had the recent success. I'm gonna go with Daniel Suarez as my underdog pick. Finished top 10 at Atlanta, which is already better than he ran basically in any race last year except Pocono. So I'm gonna ride that little mini wave he's on right now. But yeah, I think Stewart Haas Racing, they were fast. They've been fast this year. I thought they might fall off a tiny bit with the Mustang, but nope. Harvick was great again in Atlanta. All 4 of their cars were in the top 10, had some speed at Daytona. I think Daniel Suarez, I think he's going to be a top 5 threat, and you never know. Might even have a shot winning this thing.
Who you got, Michael?
My sleeper, I'd probably have to go with Austin Dillon, just because when you look at his results in the Truck and Xfinity Series, you know, he's had some pretty good success there. And then even when you get to the Cup level, you're often seeing him in the top 15, sometimes the top 10. So I could definitely see them taking notes from that and moving it over to here. So I could definitely see him, you know, surprising everybody and putting together a decent run.
Okay.
Huh?
Well, this past week I was really surprised by the 8 car, which is formerly the 31 car. I don't think that Hemrick, though, will be that sleeper pick. I still need to see more out of him in the coming weeks to see whether or not I can properly gauge. But I'm going to pick the former driver of that car, Ryan Newman, and I'll give a reason why, or a few. Okay, so he ran all right at Atlanta. I mean, he was in the top 12 to 13 for much of that race. which for that 6 car is a vast improvement for the most part over where it's been running. And then also because top 10 finishes for him. Again, sleeper for a top 10, not for a win. Ryan Newman has had 9 top 10s out of 19 races at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and I think that he can make it 50-50 and go 10 for 20 this week. So
Newman's actually impressed me this year so far.
Yeah, that entire Roush Racing team looked pretty good. I mean, Stenhouse qualified on the front row, had a fast car, unfortunately got mired to the back of the field with penalties, and then Ryan Newman was like running inside the top 10. I don't think he finished it. I don't think he finished in inside the top 10 though, but he's pretty close.
A bunch of people in the chat are asking about Obaika Racing.
I think they're done. They weren't even in the entry.
I haven't
list.
heard anything of them from Daytona. So
I think they're done. Yeah, I think they're done. Honestly, that team. Oh, they said, and just FYI, they said they were gonna run full time this season.
Yep. And then like a week before Daytona, they're like, "Oh, by the way, we don't have a car for Daytona."
Well, no, like they had some huge announcement at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Then 2 days later, they're like, "Yeah, we're not running Daytona. We're gonna look at other options." Like poor Tanner Berryhill, man. Poor guy. He's got to be stuck there.
yeah. And something else I just want to throw out there because I haven't heard anybody talking about this. This is kind of ARCA and K&N Pro Series news. Is that last year in ARCA, you have Sheldon Creed winning the championship with MDM. They have a great year overall. The lower league series. Where did they go?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
I heard no announcement that they were getting out of it. I heard they were scaling back and shutting down the truck team. But they haven't been to any of the ARCA races or the K&N races so far, and that's something that really just kind of came out of nowhere.
Well, they probably realized like, oh crap, we're running ARCA. Oh, like might as well leave, like something like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like a deal where they're like, oh, we won a championship, so let's just pack it. Let's just hit the house.
Yeah, I know, but you think there'd at least be some sort of announcement with that. I mean,
Yeah,
that is weird.
yeah. I didn't realize that. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, man.
Yeah, I noticed that at Daytona because I didn't see any of the haulers there. So,
yeah.
And I mean, I work in ARCA, so I'm kind of blindsided by that.
That is interesting. Damn, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wondering. It's almost 8:40 here. Think Danny will make it in time?
I'm not sure.
Watch is right when we're about to get done. He makes it because
He's gonna make it right now.
when we're about to do the winners picks. Go ahead.
Which it isn't that right now? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'll go first. I thought about this. Last week I picked Almirola, and it was looking like it was about to be him in the beginning. But then penalties put him back in the field. He still wound up finishing 8th. I'm gonna go. I mean, you can't really go off of last year's because like it's a different package too. So I'm sort of gonna go off what I saw in testing. I'm gonna go with. I'm just gonna go with Kyle Busch here. I'll take the safe pick with this one. Kyle Busch. He's gonna get a second win at Las Vegas in the Cup Series. He won there 10 years ago, and I feel like he's going to win his second one 10 years later. I don't know. Kyle Busch, during the test, he was running up front as well. And then like Austin Dillon, like guys like Austin Dillon were out in front of him and stuff. And I mean, Kyle Busch has even said, with this package, it's going to be more of a track position game. But he was still able to catch some of those guys in the front pack. So I'm going to go with Kyle Busch.
Well, it is Las Vegas. So, of course, the Bushes come to mind, but I'm not going with Kyle Busch. I'm going to go with Kurt Busch as my pick to win this week. In that number 1 car for Chip Ganassi Racing. I don't go on a limb too often with my win picks. I really don't. But I'm feeling it right now. He made me a believer. It was one race at Atlanta where he ran top 3. But Chip Ganassi Racing showed last week that they have speed. And I think with this package kind of equalizing the field to some extent, I think driver experience will come into play. And Kurt Busch is one of the most experienced guys out there this week. I think he wins it. I think he finds a way. I think it would be pretty cool. Home track for him. I think he does it.
Who you got, Michael?
Scheme's a pretty good tribute. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll
So
say it.
I've liked Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. Go ahead.
Aaron, like, glitching on
Okay.
me.
This is what he does.
Yeah,
Alright,
I
so-
interrupt everyone.
Okay, so I've liked the Penske car so far this year. So for this week, I think I'm going to go with Joey Logano, just because I've seen him be really successful out of all those. So I definitely could see him putting it together this week.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually
Joey Logano.
that actually really made me happy because for the first time in a while with our picks, I think for the first time it had been since at least last year, our picks for all three levels haven't matched up, each one of them for the most part, aside from the Chase Elliott sucking pick, but that was a given compared to the stat line. But for the wins, they're all different. I too will stick with Penske guys. I think the Fords are fast, but I don't think it's going to be Joey Logano. So this driver, he did really well in Atlanta, to say the least. He has 4 top 10s in the last 5 races at Las Vegas, and he finished 5th in both races last year, and he's my brother's favorite driver. So to my brother, if you're watching, Ryan Blaney is going to win this week, and it's going to be awesome. I'll be there to watch it with you. It's
That's a
going to
good
be
pick,
great.
too. Blaney's my second place pick. If I can tell you my top 3, I think it's going to go Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, Daniel Suarez across the finish line.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Yeah,
That's a
I
good
could
one.
see Blaney getting second with my pick.
I think he gets the win. I think it's going to be a very popular one. And the real question, in my opinion, is what Vegas punchline or catchline is Mike Joy going to use this week for the finish?
Oh, I don't know. He always says some corny stuff sometimes.
I just imagine right now. Had a bad week last week at Atlanta for a finish, but tonight won't be craps. Ryan Blaney wins.
I don't know.
Oh.
As long as Darrell Waltrip doesn't say boogity, boogity, boogity with 2 to go again. That was a little
Oh,
much.
he did say that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, didn't he forget at the
That
start?
pissed me off so much.
No, he said it at the start.
I
then
thought
he
one
said
of the
it
races
again.
he forgot though. I think it was the Clash, or was it the Clash? Or
Clash.
the
No, it's the
Duels?
Clash. It was the Clash.
Yeah, I forgot it at one of them, and I'm like, this is a pleasant
Yeah.
surprise.
I didn't notice. Did he forget? Did he actually forget one week?
Yeah, the Clash. I think it was the Clash, I believe.
Oh, I did. I totally missed that. That's hilarious. Then.
Well, no one
That's
remembers this year's Clash.
Yeah.
Really quick, we forgot one story I forgot to point out is that Kurt Busch got a new sponsorship and he announced it this week. Darian, I think you might know a little more about this one than us, being a Vegas native.
I'm out trying to get some water. But yeah, Star Nursery, they're going to be sponsoring the K&N West Series season opener on the dirt track, and I guess they decided to do a one-off deal with with Kurt Busch there. Sorry, I'm really tired. With Kurt Busch, the scheme is his replica of his '99 Southwest Tour championship ride. The whole backstory behind that is the driver before him, Chris Trickle, was a huge up-and-coming star locally. He just straight up dominated at the bull ring since the track's repavement in the mid '90s, I believe. He had about 34 late model wins. Was on his NASCAR. Unfortunately, one night on February 9th, 1997, he was killed on his way to a tennis match with some of his friends, just playing tennis at their local gym, I believe. He was unfortunately killed in a drive-by shooting on his way there. And what's even messed up is he actually didn't pass away until 1 year later. So he was basically in a coma for a year and I believe 1 month. So unfortunately, that happened, and his replacement happened to be Kurt Busch, and Kurt Busch went on to win a Cup Series title, and win about 30 plus Cup Series races. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a really sad story there.
Yeah, what's even sadder is that, from what I understand, the murder is still unsolved.
Yeah, actually, that's another. Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Yeah, the murder still hasn't been found to this day. It's a cold case, so it's unfortunate. The bull ring, we do run a race in his honor, the Chris Trickle Classic out here, and I believe. I want to say there was a paint scheme like in his honor before. I think I don't know. I probably would have to look that up, but yeah, his iconic number 71, nearly all the races he ran in at the bull ring and stuff, and I don't know, just a tragic, just a very tragic story. But good to see Kurt Busch sort of paying homage to him in a way.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know that was Kurt Busch who replaced him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that'd be something good to let people know, maybe who hadn't heard it before or not, because the story in and of itself, it's a tragic one. But then you see what Kurt Busch is doing now, and I think that's something that, with this, needs to be put more out and shown. The good thing that Kurt Busch is doing here. So definitely a good story, at least for the present day for Kurt. Really quick, I think before we get into any closing statements, we need to talk a little more to our guest, Michael. So can you just tell the people watching more, like, where do you race and whatnot?
Okay, so I run with the Badger Midget Series primarily. So that's mainly tracks like Sycamore Speedway and Angel Park. And actually, that sort of leads me into this announcement I think I need to make. And that is, I will be making my Power Ride National Midget debut at Angel Park Speedway for the Pepsi Nationals. We just confirmed that race, so barring anything going wrong, we should be running that. I'm really excited for it. It's my first national event, so definitely hoping that goes well.
That's
Yeah, that's
awesome.
awesome.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks. Yeah, we're trying to add some more races to it, some bigger ones. Right now, we've got funding for about 5 races, I think. And I'm definitely looking for sponsors. So if any of you guys know somebody who may want to put their name on a car, give me a call.
Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast, where you at?
Yeah. I actually should do that because he seems like he just gives money away freely.
Oh, he does.
Hey, the other day I got his contact and info, like email, so I can just get that to you. I found it the other day, so seriously, I'm more than happy.
I mean, yeah.
Let's set you up. Let's set you up with a subscribe to PewDiePie.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, I'd run that. Got no problem with it.
So how long have you been racing? Like just in general, like how long have you been racing?
I haven't been racing as long as I'm sure a lot of people may think. I didn't get started at a young age. I mean, I'd always wanted to do it, but we just weren't able to get started until I was about 15, which is when we started going to karting places and going there constantly. And I didn't really get into the competitive side until I was about 17. So I got started running dirt carts. We were going to try to get started in Legends at Kentucky Speedway, because that track's only about 30 minutes away. But they ended their Legends car program a couple of years after they got the Cup race because they were raising their rates. So that kind of fell flat. So we just ended up going to karting. Had some pretty good success there. Kind of struggled our last year, and this year we decided to sell it all to sort of put all our money into the midget, which, that's kind of a risk, but, nothing ventured, nothing gained, so we figured this was worth it. And I'm really excited for what this season has to hold.
Yeah, sounds like you got some exciting things coming up too with the national series stuff. So
Yeah, good to hear.
best of luck, man.
Yeah, thanks.
I gotta ask, what do you do before races? I always like asking drivers this because it's something that I find fascinating. Is there any pre-race rituals?
I don't know if I really have any pre-race rituals. Closest thing I can come up with is hydrating. I know people underestimate it a lot, but racing really is a very physical sport. So it's important to be on top of your game every time you go out there.
Yeah, any funny racing stories you got so far?
Let me think here. I'm sure I do.
Yeah, any you're allowed to tell us, I guess.
Okay. How about the guy who kept wrecking me because I was too nice to him?
What?
So, first time we really had an issue with him is, I'm just passing him for 4th place too, and I'm way faster than him, and he just comes down on me, and he's got the wheel cocked to the left, halfway down the straightaway, and he's trying to shove me into the infield, and he shoves me right into one of the infield tires, which was actually mounted on something, so it moved, but it hurt a hell of a lot.
Ease.
And then,
Bam.
yeah, next race we go to, he tries to shove me off the outside because he gets to the inside of me, then he has the wheel cocked to the right.
Ease.
Yeah, and then next race we do, he runs right into the back of me and spins me out. At this point, I'm just thinking, fine, next time I'm on track, I'm taking him out. And we ended up never racing each other again, so I guess that was kind of a good call, but kind of sucks because I didn't really get that revenge I was wanting.
Well, you still owe him one. So if you ever see him down the line, even if it's just like in a hallway somewhere, you know you owe him one. So you can always have that in the back of your head.
It doesn't even have to be on the track. Doesn't even have to be on the track.
Just gotta listen to
spin
street.
him on the freeway. Yeah, spin him out on the
Yeah.
freeway. There you
That's
go.
the issue, though, is that I never really got a good look at the guy because, I only spoke with really a few racers while I was there, so, and he wasn't one of them. So I never really saw him without his helmet on.
We'll track him down for you.
I want to say really quick, here at the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, we do not condone violence or crashing people on the freeway. Just want to say that now. Anyway, back to the back to what we were talking about before. Just wanted to
You
put
would
that
say, not as we
precursor.
do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that, Jared?
I was saying yes. Like, don't crash people on the freeway.
I know, I just thought you'd ask me something.
Oh no. Well, 1 second. No, I was just saying basically just, don't do
it.
stuff that we
do it.
Yeah. Shut
Just
up.
do it.
Shut up, Darian
Darian,
Palpatine.
shut up!
Fine, you two can go out on a mad chase, and Eric and I will stay here and not break the law. Of course, knowing Darian and Eric, they might not have heard of the song "Breaking the Law" by Judas Priest.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna say by Motley Crue. I was
wait,
like,
is it? I fought the law and the law.
Shut up, Darian.
Oh my god, Darian!
to be fair, I do know that Judas Priest song. So there we go.
Yes, Darian
Very
with the black
familiar
sheep
with
here.
Who listens to this stuff, man? I don't listen to none of that stuff, bro. Like,
Darian, I'm gonna send you my Spotify playlist, okay?
yeah, go ahead. Wait, people still use Spotify? What?
What do you use?
I just have
What
Apple.
did they tell you?
I
I
have Apple.
download music into my head.
I recite it from memory.
I sing along in the shower. It's a cappella all the way.
Okay, so really quick, where can people find you? Michael?
I'm on almost all social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, so
Oh,
I'm uploading as much as I can to that. Which, it's almost always racing themed, but lately I've started to branch out into like mental health issues, just because that's something I've struggled with a lot, and something a lot of people I know struggle with. So that's kind of a message I'm just trying to help spread, since there's that movement now. But anyway, yeah, everyone go follow me on Twitter, because I had to start a new account because Twitter deleted my last one. So
Oof. That's really awesome though. What you're doing with your channel. Is it just your name?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
just Michael Klein.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
In fact, here, I'll tell you what. I'll just show you guys the
not Calvin Klein, Michael Klein.
not Calvin.
yeah.
Calvin's
When we get off, we'll edit it so that we can have that link in the description below for everybody that
Alright.
watches.
right
Yeah.
here.
There
There.
you go. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Okay, we're gonna do a quick outro unless Danny jumps in.
Danny
So-
always likes to show up for outros. That's his
Yes,
style.
it's like his meme. So Darian, really quick, since it's on your channel next week, who are our guests next week and what time and all that good stuff, all that jazz.
All right. So next week, so just FYI, I have a brand new laptop, so no more issues for me anymore. So all those issues are a thing of the past. Hopefully, I've tested it out. So
Fingers crossed.
so far, yeah, fingers crossed. So far, so good. But next week on March 6th, only on Black Lives Matter, the NASCAR Weekly Podcast has its regular panel. Hopefully, Danny B along with us next week. But also, we're gonna have on N2SC4 and the guy he's sponsoring, Ryan Vargas, will be on next week.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, so it
Looking
all
forward to that
starts at so the NASCAR Weekly Podcast on Black Lives Matter next week at 8 I can't even talk at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Oh.
Just like froze right there. I thought my computer was froze.
But yeah,
All right,
should be going.
guys. Any statements you want to say before we head out?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on so much, man.
Yeah,
Thank you for being on.
Yeah,
man.
if you guys ever want me to come back on,
Oh, absolutely.
I'd be more than
Definitely.
happy.
Definitely, man. We know we know where to look now. All right. Well, I'll put this on me really quick before we head out. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I think we might start this as a new trend that we started last week on accident, or maybe the week before. I don't know. But what we're gonna do here is we'll just say bye to you guys, play the outro, and we'll see you next week on Darian's channel. So it should be a fun one. Had fun tonight. See you later, guys.
Green flag, green flag.